I can't speak for all the victims, but I know for my sister and I, she was the most powerful part of this. We weren't afraid of Epstein in the way that we feared her. And she just wielded so much power over everyone and made so many threats based on all of her rich friends, everyone in that black book.
That was Maria Farmer talking to Court TV about Ghislaine Maxwell. And she's on trial now in New York. It's a sex trafficking case. And her sister ended up testifying today as one of the accusers in the case. And the real question here is, what exactly is Ghislaine Maxwell's role in Jeffrey Epstein's world? One thing they've been trying to do is separate Ghislaine Maxwell from Jeffrey Epstein, because if you are connected to Jeffrey Epstein, that's not good. I mean, everyone knows who he is and what he did at this point, including the jurors. But the jury got to see a whole bunch of evidence photos and may make it a little difficult to separate the two. Let me give you a little warning on this first one. It's a little strange, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because I think it really demonstrates the nature of their relationship. Here it is, folks. Yes, that's Ghislaine Maxwell rubbing Epstein's feet. On the plane, posing, having fun with his foot. There's another shot. I mean, this is strange behavior. Strange that you're taking pictures of it, but is this shirt's halfway off at this point. Is this employer behavior? I mean, no, there's something much more going on here. You know, this is a bizarre world that this jury has entered, ladies and gentlemen, and they're seeing all these photos like you are seeing them tonight. And the real question and challenge for Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be to separate herself from Jeffrey Epstein. I think we have more photos to show. Let's show them. We got them. Let's show them. Two of them together. There they are. Traveling the world. Billions of dollars. There's a little kiss on the cheek. Yeah, I don't know. I don't kiss my boss like that. You know, my boss doesn't hold me like that. Yeah, no, there's something else going on. And I don't think, not going to be able, how is she going to be able to separate herself from Jeffrey Epstein? Let's bring back in our think tank as we continue to watch these photos. Brian Watkins, you can keep those photos up, folks. Brian Watkins, what are your thoughts about how successful will they be in trying to separate Ghislaine Maxwell from Jeffrey Epstein when, you know, she's connected to his feet and whatever else?
You know, I don't think it's going to be that difficult. You know, he's not there to defend himself. She can really put a lot of blame on him, but she needs to take the stand to explain all this stuff.
How do you explain that? Really, how do you explain that one?
You know, you explain it the same way a lot of people in these types of situations who are victims explain things like, you know, he manipulated me, he forced me, he coerced me to do this stuff. I was forced to do this. The same thing we see in other sexual assault trials. You know, why were you dating him? Why did you go to his room at 3 a.m? How come you hung out with him the day after he allegedly raped you? All these questions are answered by that answer, which is he was intimidating. He had so much power. He was going to hurt me if I didn't do it. He was going to ruin my career if I didn't do it. And that's why I did it. We see that in, you know, the movie producers when they're getting charged with the sexual assault and why are you over his house and how come you went to his birthday party? You answer that question. Hey, he forced me to, he coerced me. He had so much power that if I didn't do this and play this role, I would be hurt in some way, shape, or form.
Bernarda, do you think that moment happens? You've been inside that courtroom. Do you think it's at the point where, you know, prosecutors have now rested, the government has rested. Do you think she has to take the stand at this point?
Look, Vinny, I've been in the courtroom for most of the trial, and I can tell you this. Ghislaine Maxwell is going to stay off of the stand. There is no good that's going to come out of her actually testifying. And I'm telling you this because me watching this trial, it's been like no other trial in the sense of being in federal court, because the courtroom is full of media personnel from all over, a lot of international media. So the good thing about being in the overflow room is that people are talking and they're reacting. They're like, oh my God, oh, Jeffrey Epstein, oh, another name, oh, her actions. Why would she do that? Like, you're getting commentary from the people in the audience who are reacting. So you got to think that that's probably the same way that these jurors are feeling. The reality is that you've had 4 victims come in and testify. For each of those victims, what the prosecutor has done is brought in corroborating evidence in the sense that they brought at least one additional person that is attached to that victim that can corroborate that something was going on involving Jeffrey Epstein as well as Ghislaine Maxwell. The thing is, the more I watch these photos, in the closing arguments, I am hoping what the prosecutor does is say, look, Ghislaine Maxwell was in a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. She loved Jeffrey Epstein. She wanted to satisfy Jeffrey Epstein. So that's why she did what she needed to do, because she wanted to keep him happy. They both knew what they liked sexually, and that's exactly what she tried to do, is satisfy this man who needed at least 1 to 3 massages per day.
All right. It's a bizarre world. Now, as I mentioned off the top, Annie Farmer testified today, and there have been a bunch of accusers who have testified. Let's take a look. We got a list of some of them. Jane, who was 14 when this alleged abuse began. You've got Kate, who was 17 when she met Maxwell. Carolyn, who was 14 when the alleged abuse began, and Annie Farmer, who was 16. Now, here's a little bit more about Annie Farmer, who testified today. Met Epstein in 1996 while her sister was working for him in New York. This directly implicates Maxwell. It was given a nude massage by Maxwell at Epstein's home in New Mexico when she was 16 years old. She pulled the sheet down and exposed my breasts. She started rubbing on my chest and on my upper breasts. That's a quote from court. Let's take a listen to Annie Farmer, who gave us a statement. This was after Ghislaine Maxwell had been charged and arrested in this whole case, and she gives us a little more background.
I met Ghislaine Maxwell when I was 16 years old. She's a sexual predator who groomed and abused me and countless other children and young women. She has never shown any remorse for her heinous crimes or for the devastating, lasting impact her actions have caused. Instead, she has chosen to lie under oath and torment her survivors. The danger Maxwell poses must be taken seriously. She has associates across the globe, many of great means. She also has demonstrated contempt for our legal system by committing perjury, all of which indicate she is a significant flight risk. We may never know how many people were victimized by Ghislaine Maxwell, but those of us who survive implore this court to detain her until she can stand trial and answer for her crimes.
And again, that was right after she was arrested, and the big issue was, is she getting out on bail or not? And she did not. Joe Tamburino, your thoughts? You have all these accusers coming into court. It's years later. You have Epstein, obviously, who's the big fish, but he's no longer with us. He died in prison. I'm not going to get into what happened there, but died in prison. So your thoughts about this case, Joe, in federal court?
Ms. Maxwell doesn't have a chance. I agree with Bernarda. She cannot take the stand. There is no way. You'd have to wear butcher's aprons in that courtroom because she would be torn apart. But on the other hand, the only way she has any defense is to take the stand. So no matter what she does, I think it's over. And everything that we've learned so far is that this woman was the ultimate groomer of these young girls for Epstein. There seems to be abundant evidence of that.
All right. We've got more to get to.
Vinny, if I could add one.
Yeah, I'll give you the final word, Brian. Go ahead.
We see these cases all the time when we prosecute pimps. And they're doing a prostitution ring. Pimps usually have 1 or 2 prostitutes that goes and recruits other prostitutes. And that's the card that she needs to play. We all know Jeffrey Epstein is a predator. He manipulates and controls women, and he did the same thing to Maxwell. And that's what she's got to get up there and say. She's a victim, just like all the other victims. That's what pimps do. They get other girls to facilitate their crimes. And I would play that card. That's the only card she's got.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And there might be a way to try to explain some of those foot massages.